The marble floor beneath her knees had grown familiar. Too familiar. Zuri Adebayo knelt in the fading golden light of sunset, her reflection distorted across the polished stone like a ghost of the woman she once was. The faded servant's apron hung loose around her waist, a cruel replacement for the elegant gowns she'd worn when she first entered this ancestral mansion as a bride. 3 feet away, crystal glasses clinked. Laughter erupted around the mahogany dining table. His aunts, his cousins, his sister-in-law, all of them feasting on dishes Zuri had spent hours preparing. None of them looked at her. More wine, someone commanded without turning. Zuri rose silently, poured, lowered her eyes when someone muttered words designed to wound. Clear these plates. Quickly. She stacked them carefully. Porcelain towers balanced in her trembling hands. The massive carved entrance doors groaned open. Cold autumn air rushed inside. A figure stood silhouetted against the dying light. Kangji. His suitcase slipped slightly from his grip. His cold eyes found her immediately. His wife, wearing a servant's apron, holding everyone else's dirty dishes, standing completely alone. One tear escaped down her cheek before she could stop it. No one at the table breathed. His family realized instantly. He had seen everything. No shouting. No violence. Only silence. And in that silence, everything began to shatter. Please like, share and subscribe. Jisuk did not move. The wind continued pushing against his back, but he remained frozen in the doorway like a statue carved from winter itself. His tailored black coat hung perfectly across his broad shoulders. His dark hair was slightly disheveled from travel. But his eyes, those cold, calculating eyes, were fixed entirely on Zuri. She stood motionless. The plates trembled in her hands. Somewhere behind her, a chair scraped against marble. His eldest aunt, Madame Kang Sun-hee, rose slowly. Her silk dress whispered against the floor as she forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Jisuk, she said smoothly. You've returned early. What a wonderful surprise. He didn't acknowledge her. His gaze never left Zuri. The symbolic tattoo on his wrist, a crane intertwined with an African protea flower, became visible as his grip tightened around his luggage handle. The design disappeared beneath his sleeve, then reappeared as his fist clenched harder. Why, he said quietly, is my wife dressed like that? The question hung in the air like smoke. No one answered. Later that evening, the dining room had emptied within minutes of his arrival. Relatives scattered like startled birds, disappearing into various wings of the mansion with hurried excuses about phone calls and early meetings. Jisuk stood alone in the center of the room. The table remained cluttered with half-finished plates and overturned wine glasses. Evidence of the feast they'd been enjoying while his wife served them. He picked up a single napkin, embroidered with the Kang family crest, dropped carelessly on the floor, right where Zuri had been kneeling. His jaw tightened. Meanwhile, Zuri had retreated to the small servants' quarters at the far end of the east wing. The room was barely larger than a closet. A narrow bed, a cracked mirror, a single window that overlooked the garden she'd once designed. She pressed her back against the door and finally allowed herself to breathe. Her hands were still shaking. He wasn't supposed to return for another month. She wasn't supposed to be seen like this. A soft knock made her freeze. Zuri. His voice. Low. Controlled. Terrifyingly calm. She didn't answer. Open the door. Her fingers found the handle before her mind could protest. The door opened slowly. Jisuk stood in the narrow hallway, his presence overwhelming the cramped space. Behind him, shadows stretched long across the wooden floors. The servants' quarters had never been designed for someone of his stature to visit. Yet here he was. His eyes swept across the tiny room. The threadbare blanket, the single pillow, the absence of anything personal or beautiful. How long? He asked. Zuri's voice was barely a whisper. Since the second week after you left. 8 months. She had been living like this for 8 months. His expression didn't change, but something shifted behind his eyes. Something dangerous. His hand reached toward her face, then stopped inches away, as though touching her might confirm that this nightmare was real. Who ordered this? She looked away. Zuri. Your aunt. Your mother's sister. Her voice remained steady despite everything. She said, it would be temporary. Until the household adjusted to your absence. Temporary, he repeated flatly. The word tasted like poison. 3 days earlier, before Jisuk's plane landed in Seoul, Madame Kang Sun-hee had gathered the household staff in the main parlor. Her diamonds caught the morning light as she addressed them with the authority of someone who had ruled this mansion long before Jisuk inherited it. The chairman returns in 30 days, she announced. I want the east wing completely renovated by then. New furniture. Fresh flowers. Remove any evidence of our current arrangements. The servants exchanged nervous glances. One maid, a young woman named Hannah, dared to speak. And Mrs. Kong? What should we do about her quarters? Sun-hee's smile was thin and sharp. Mrs. Kong will be relocated to the guest suite. Temporarily. Just until my nephew arrives. But madam, she's been in the servants' room for. Are you questioning me? Silence. Good. But Sun-hee's plans had failed. Jisuk returned early. And now everything was exposed. The following morning, Jisuk hadn't slept. He stood at the window of his private study, watching the sun rise over the estate gardens. The same gardens Suri had designed during their first year of marriage, before his business required him to spend 18 months abroad. He remembered her excitement then. The sketches spread across their bedroom floor. The way her eyes lit up when she described the integration of Korean traditional elements with African botanical influences. Those gardens were still beautiful. But the woman who created them had been reduced to a servant in her own home. His phone buzzed. A message from his assistant. Chairman, the surveillance footage you requested has been compiled. 14 months of recordings. Do you want them delivered to your private server? He typed back, yes. All of it. The footage began playing at exactly 7:42 a.m. Jisuk sat alone in his study, the room sealed from all interruptions. Multiple screens displayed different camera angles throughout the mansion. Hallways, dining rooms, kitchens, gardens. And in nearly every frame, Suri, working, serving, being humiliated. He watched his aunt deliberately spill tea on Zuri's dress during a family luncheon. He watched his cousin's wife laugh as Zuri scrubbed floors on her hands and knees. He watched his younger brother, his own blood, stand by silently while their relatives stripped away every piece of dignity his wife possessed. But nothing prepared him for what came next. A conversation recorded 6 months ago. In the private sitting room. His aunt's voice. The foreigner needs to understand her place. Jisuk may have married her, but that doesn't make her family. His brother's response. And if Jisuk finds out? He won't. We've already intercepted her communications. Every email she sends we read first. Every phone call we monitor. She has no way to reach him. Jisuk's blood ran cold. They had isolated her completely. For over a year they had controlled every message between husband and wife. Every, I love you, that Zuri thought she was sending, had been rewritten or deleted entirely. Every update Jisuk believed he was receiving about his wife's comfort, had been fabricated. She thought he didn't care. He thought she was thriving. They had both been deceived. Meanwhile, Zuri sat in the greenhouse at the edge of the property. This was the one place they hadn't touched, the one sanctuary she had left. Sunlight filtered through the glass panels, warming her skin for the first time in months. She closed her eyes and remembered why she had stayed. Not because she was weak. Not because she had nowhere to go. But because of a promise. 2 years earlier, Jisuk's grandmother, Madame Kang Eun-soo, had been the only family member to welcome Zuri with genuine warmth. The elderly woman had taken Zuri's hands on her wedding day and spoken words that still echoed in her memory. My grandson is not easy to love. But you, I can see your heart. Promise me something, child. Anything, grandmother. When I am gone, protect this family. Even when they do not deserve it. Because real strength is not leaving when things become difficult. Real strength is staying, and transforming pain into grace. Grandmother Eun-soo passed away 4 months later. And Zuri kept her promise. Even when it cost her everything. That evening Jisuk called a family dinner. The announcement sent ripples of panic through the household. Servants rushed to prepare the formal dining room. Relatives who had avoided him all day suddenly found themselves with no excuses left. By 7 o'clock, everyone was seated. Everyone except Zuri. Jisuk entered last. His presence silenced the room immediately. He wore a black suit without a single crease, his collar open just enough to reveal the edge of his tattoo. His expression was unreadable. He took his place at the head of the table. "Where is my wife?" His aunt smiled nervously. "She's resting, I believe. Poor thing was feeling unwell." "Bring her." "Jisuk, perhaps it would be better if—" "Now." The command was quiet, but no one dared disobey. 10 minutes later, Zuri entered the dining room wearing a simple cream dress, one of the few personal items she still possessed. Her hair was pulled back elegantly. Her posture remained graceful despite everything. But her eyes were cautious. She didn't know why she had been summoned. Jisuk rose from his chair. Every relative watched as he walked toward her slowly. His footsteps echoed against the marble. His eyes never left her face. He stopped directly in front of her. Then without a word he reached down and took her hand, and led her to the seat beside him. The seat reserved for the chairman's wife. His aunt's face went pale. "I have a question for this family," Jisuk said calmly. His voice carried across the silent room like a blade. "When I left Korea 18 months ago, I trusted you to care for my household. I trusted you to honor my marriage. I trusted you to treat my wife with the respect she deserves." He paused. Was that trust misplaced? No one spoke. His brother, Kang Ji-hoon, 3 years younger, always living in Jisuk's shadow, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. His wife, Min-ah, clutched her wine glass like a lifeline. Aunt Sun Hee maintained her composure, but her hands trembled slightly beneath the table. "Jisuk," she began smoothly, "I understand you may have concerns, but I assure you, everything was handled appropriately during your absence. Your wife was treated as a member of this family." "A member of the family," Jisuk repeated. He reached into his jacket, produced a single photograph, slid it across the table. The image showed Zuri on her knees, scrubbing the entrance hall floor at midnight. Her dress was stained, her face exhausted. In the background, 3 relatives sat drinking champagne watching her work. "Is this how we treat family members?" Silence. Zuri's hand trembled beside her plate. She hadn't known anyone was watching. She hadn't known there were cameras. Later that night, the dinner ended without further confrontation. Jisuk had made his point. But the real battle was only beginning. In the privacy of his study he reviewed more footage. Every clip revealed new horrors. His relatives hadn't just humiliated Zuri, they had systematically erased her existence from the household. Her architectural awards had been removed from display. Her wedding photographs had been stored in the basement. Her name had been deleted from the family registry. On paper it was as though Kang Jisuk had never married. His fist connected with the desk. The wood cracked beneath his knuckles. Meanwhile, Zuri stood on the balcony outside her old bedroom, the master suite she hadn't entered in over a year. Jisuk had insisted she return there tonight. But the room felt foreign now. Too large. Too empty. Too filled with memories of the woman she used to be. Footsteps approached behind her. "You should sleep," Jisuk said quietly. She didn't turn around. "I can't." He moved closer. Not touching. His present. "I failed you." The words hung between them. Zuri finally turned. His face was half-shadowed by moonlight, but she could see the tension in his jaw. The guilt in his eyes. "You didn't know. I should have known." His voice was barely audible. "I should have protected you." She looked at him for a long moment. "You're here now." 1 week later, business resumed at Kong Global Consortium headquarters. Jisuk returned to his corner office on the 47th floor, where floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Seoul's glittering skyline. But his attention wasn't on quarterly reports or international expansion. It was on the woman who walked through his door without knocking. Seo Yuna, Executive Vice President of Strategic Development. Elegant, ambitious, dangerously beautiful. And for the past 3 years she had been patiently positioning herself to become the next Mrs. Kong. "Jisuk," she smiled, settling into the chair across from his desk. "Welcome back. We've missed your leadership." He didn't return the smile. "What do you want, Yuna?" She crossed her legs deliberately. "I heard there's been some turbulence at home. Family matters can be so exhausting. If you ever need someone to talk to..." My family matters are not your concern. Her smile faltered slightly. Of course. I just want you to know. I'm here. I've always been here. His eyes were ice. The board meeting begins in 10 minutes. I suggest you prepare. Meanwhile, Zuri was reviewing architectural blueprints in the mansion's library. For the first time in over a year, she had access to her professional materials. Jisuk had personally retrieved them from the storage room where his aunt had hidden them. The designs felt foreign in her hands, like memories from another life. But slowly something began to awaken. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. Mina entered without waiting for permission. Jihoon's wife. The woman who had laughed while Zuri scrubbed floors. You think this changes anything? Mina's voice dripped with contempt. You think because Jisuk saw you in that apron, everything resets? Zuri remained calm. I think you should leave. He'll tire of you. He always does. And when he realizes you're nothing but a burden, a foreigner who doesn't belong in this family, he'll discard you like yesterday's garbage. Zuri set down her blueprints. Stood slowly. Her voice was quiet but unwavering. I have survived every humiliation this family has thrown at me. I have kept every promise I made. And I will still be standing long after people like you have forgotten what cruelty tastes like. Mina's face contorted with rage. You leave. Now. For a moment Mina hesitated. Then she retreated. 2 weeks passed. Jisuk's investigation deepened. He discovered that his aunt had not acted alone. The conspiracy involved his brother, his cousin, 3 board members and, most disturbingly, someone inside his own security team. The network was designed specifically to isolate Zuri from any outside support. Her family in South Africa had received carefully crafted messages suggesting she wanted space. Her former colleagues had been told she was adjusting to married life and preferred not to be contacted. Even Jisuk's own communications had been filtered. Every loving message Zuri sent had been replaced with cold, distant responses. Every update Jisuk sent about missing her had been deleted entirely. She thought he had forgotten her. He thought she had grown comfortable without him. The deception was flawless. Almost. One conversation survived undeleted. A voicemail from Zuri recorded 7 months ago. Jisuk played it in the darkness of his study. Her voice, tired but still hopeful. I know you're busy. I know the expansion is important. But I just wanted to hear your voice. Things have been difficult here. I don't want to worry you, but sometimes I feel like I'm disappearing. Like no one sees me anymore. Please call when you can. I love you. He played it 3 times. Each time his chest tightened further. She had reached out. And he never received it. The following day, he fired his head of security without explanation. The man protested. Demanded reasons. Threatened legal action. Jisuk leaned forward across his desk. You intercepted my wife's communications for 14 months. You helped my family erase her from this household. You watched her suffer and said nothing. The man's face drained of color. I could destroy you legally. But that would be too merciful. Jisuk's voice was ice. Instead, I've ensured that no company in Korea will ever employ you again. Your accounts have been flagged for investigation. Your family's business connections have been informed of your unreliability. Silence. Now get out of my building. That evening, Zuri found something unexpected. While organizing the library, she discovered a sealed envelope hidden behind a row of antique books. The handwriting on the front was unmistakable. For Zuri when the time is right. Grandmother Unsu's script. With trembling hands, Zuri opened it. My dear Zuri, if you are reading this, then I am no longer with you. And I suspect my family has not treated you with the kindness you deserve. Please forgive them. Not because they deserve forgiveness, but because holding on to anger will only poison your beautiful heart. I chose you for my grandson because I saw something in you that this family has forgotten. Strength without cruelty. Dignity without pride. Love without conditions. Do not let them diminish you. You are exactly who Jisuk needs, even when he doesn't know it himself. There is something else you should know. Before I died, I amended the family trust. Certain conditions were added. Conditions that protect you and your future children, regardless of what my relatives attempt. The documents are with attorney Park Jin-ho. He has been instructed to contact you when necessary. Be brave, my child. And know that you are always family to me. With eternal love. Zuri read the letter twice. Tears fell onto the aged paper. Grandmother had known. She had prepared for this. And somewhere protection was waiting. Later that night, Zuri showed Jisuk the letter. He read it in silence. When he finished, he didn't speak for a long moment. Then quietly, grandmother always saw things others couldn't. She protected me, Zuri whispered. Even from the grave. Jisuk looked at her. Really looked at her. I should have been the one protecting you. You're here now. He reached toward her face, slowly giving her time to pull away if she wanted. He didn't. His fingers brushed her cheek. No, Reverend. I will never leave you unguarded again. 3 weeks after Jisuk's return, the annual Kong Foundation Gala was held at the Grand Hyatt Seoul. 500 guests. Politicians. Theos. Foreign diplomats. Every major family in Korean high society attended. It was the perfect stage for what Jisuk had planned. Zuri arrived on his arm, wearing an elegant black gown with subtle African beadwork along the neckline. Her natural hair was styled in a sophisticated updo. Her presence commanded attention, not through volume but through quiet grace. Whispers followed them through the ballroom. Is that his wife? I thought she went back to Africa. She looks different than the photos. Stronger somehow. Why is she here? The family said she'd been ill. Jisuk heard every whisper. And smiled slightly. Midway through the evening he took the stage. The room fell silent. Thank you all for joining us tonight, he began, his voice carrying effortlessly. Before we continue, I have an announcement regarding the Kong family. His aunt's face went pale. His brother shifted nervously. Many of you have heard rumors about my wife over the past 18 months. Rumors about her absence. Her health. Her role in our family. He paused. I'm here to clarify. The screen behind him illuminated. Photographs began appearing. Zuri's architectural achievements. Her international awards. Her charitable work in South Africa before she moved to Korea. My wife, Zuri Adebayo Kong, is an internationally recognized architect. She designed the Kong Memorial Gardens. She led the renovation of the Seoul Youth Arts Center. She has contributed more to this family's legacy in 3 years than some members have contributed in a lifetime. Another pause. And during my absence she was deliberately isolated, humiliated, and stripped of her dignity by people who should have protected her. Gasps rippled through the crowd. His aunt stood abruptly. Jisuk. Sit down, Aunt Sun-hee. The command was quiet. Absolute. She sat. I want everyone in this room to understand something clearly. Jisuk's eyes swept across the crowd, landing briefly on each family member. Zuri is not a guest in the Kong household. She is not a servant. She is not a foreigner to be tolerated. She is my wife. The future mother of my children. And anyone who disrespects her disrespects me directly. He turned to face his aunt. As of this morning, Madam Kong Sun-hee has been removed from all positions within the Kong Foundation and Kong Global Consortium. Her access to family accounts has been terminated. Her residence will be relocated to the Jeju property indefinitely. Sun-hee's face twisted with fury. You can't. It's already done. He looked at his brother next. Ji-hoon, your involvement in this conspiracy has also been documented. You will retain your position for now, but you will never hold authority over any household matter again. Your wife will no longer be welcome at family gatherings. Ji-hoon said nothing. His head hung in shame. The gala ended in chaos. Journalists swarmed the exits. Social media exploded with speculation. By morning, every major news outlet in Korea was running stories about the Kong family's internal conflict. But inside the mansion something different was happening. Peace. Zuri stood in the master bedroom, still wearing her gown. Jisuk entered behind her, loosening his tie. You didn't have to do that, she said quietly. Exposing them publicly. It will create enemies. They were already enemies. Jisuk. He moved closer. For 18 months you protected my family's honor. You kept a promise to my grandmother even when it cost you everything. His voice was low. Intense. The least I can do is ensure the world knows who you really are. She turned to face him. Moonlight caught the tears in her eyes. I never wanted revenge. I know. I only wanted. She hesitated. I only wanted to be seen. He reached for her hand, lifted it slowly, pressed his lips to her knuckles. I see you, he whispered. I've always seen you. I just didn't realize. I wasn't looking closely enough. 3 days later, Seo Yuna made her move. She requested a private meeting with Ji-suk at the company headquarters, citing urgent matters regarding the international expansion. But when he arrived, she wasn't discussing business. You've made a mistake, she said smoothly, perching on the edge of his desk. Publicly defending that woman. The board is talking. Investors are concerned. Your reputation. My reputation is not your concern. But the company is. She leaned closer. Ji-suk, we've known each other for years. I understand you. I understand this world. That woman, she doesn't belong here. She'll drag you down. His expression remained unchanged. Are you finished? I'm trying to help you. Her voice softened. Let me help you. He stood slowly, moved toward the door, opened it. Miss Seo, your resignation will be expected on my desk by tomorrow morning. Your severance will be generous, provided you leave quietly. Her composure shattered. You can't fire me. I've given this company everything. You've given this company ambition disguised as loyalty. That ends today. By the following week, Seo Yuna's departure was complete, and the whispers about Zuri began to shift. From curiosity to respect. From skepticism to admiration. 1 month after the gala, Ji-suk and Zuri walked through the estate gardens at sunset. The gardens she had designed. The gardens that had been neglected during her year of suffering. But now slowly they were being restored. I spoke with attorney Park Jin-ho, Ji-suk said quietly. Grandmother's amendments to the trust are substantial. Zuri glanced at him. What do they say? They ensure that you, and any children we have, receive primary inheritance rights. My aunt and brother were never supposed to have access to those accounts. They manipulated the documentation while grandmother was ill. Zuri stopped walking. She protected us that much? She saw what was coming. Ji-suk's jaw tightened. She knew her family better than I did. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Zuri spoke. I'm not staying for the money. I never cared about inheritance. I know. I stayed because I made a promise. Because I believed, somewhere underneath everything, that this family could become better. Ji-suk turned to face her fully. The symbolic tattoo was visible beneath his open collar. The crane and protea intertwined. 2 cultures. 1 bond. Do you still believe that? She looked at him for a long moment. I'm starting to. That evening, for the first time since his return, Ji-suk entered Zuri's bedroom without business to discuss. He stood in the doorway uncertain. She looked up from the book she was reading. You can come in. He moved slowly. Sat on the edge of the bed. The distance between them was barely a foot, but it felt like miles. I don't know how to do this, he admitted quietly. I've spent my entire life building walls. Protecting myself from my own family. And when I finally found someone worth opening up to, I let them hurt you. Zuri set down her book. Walls can be rebuilt differently. How? She reached out. Took his hand. Slowly. Together. The lights in the room dimmed to nothing but candlelight. Outside, rain began to fall against the windows. A soft rhythm that filled the silence between them. Ji-suk looked at their intertwined hands. His tattoo was fully visible now. The crane, symbol of his Korean heritage. The protea, symbol of her South African roots. Combined into something new. Something unbreakable. I had this designed after we married, he said quietly. I never explained what it meant. I know what it means. You do. She smiled softly. Your grandmother told me. She said you commissioned it the week after our wedding. That it was your way of making a promise you couldn't speak out loud. His chest tightened. Of course grandmother knew. He always knew. Slowly Ji-suk reached toward Zuri's face. His fingers traced her jawline. Her cheek. The corner of her lips. I've wanted to hold you for so long, he whispered. But I didn't know if, after everything. I'm still here. I know. I never stopped loving you. He closed his eyes. When he opened them again something had shifted. The wall was finally crumbling. He pulled her toward him, gently, reverently, until her forehead rested against his. "I love you," he said. "I should have said it more. I should have protected you. I should have been here. You're here now. I'm here now." Their lips met, softly at first, then deeper. The rain continued falling. The candles flickered, and everything else faded to black. 2 weeks later, a new crisis emerged. A rival corporation, Hansung Industries, launched a hostile acquisition attempt against Kong Global Consortium. The attack came suddenly and strategically, targeting the company's vulnerabilities during the recent family scandal. Jisuk knew immediately who was behind it. His cousin, Kang Min-jae, the one family member who had remained suspiciously silent throughout the entire conflict. "He's been coordinating with Hansung for months," Jisuk's assistant reported. "Secret meetings, leaked financial documents. He provided them with insider information about our European expansion." Jisuk stared at the documents spread across his desk. Betrayal within betrayal. His own blood selling out the family legacy for personal profit. What does he want? Control. He believes the company would be better run under different leadership. Meaning himself. "Yes, Chairman." Jisuk leaned back. His expression revealed nothing. But inside, cold fury was building. That evening he found Zuri in the greenhouse. She was sketching designs for a new garden section, her first architectural project since regaining her professional materials. "There's a problem," he said. She looked up, and understood immediately. "How bad?" "Bad enough that I may lose the company." She set down her pencil. Moved toward him. "What do you need?" "I need to know you're safe. If this acquisition succeeds, Min-jae will have enough power to undo everything I've done, including protecting you." Her eyes hardened. "Then don't let him succeed." The emergency board meeting was held 3 days later. Every shareholder with significant holdings attended. The conference room on the 47th floor was packed. Security stood at every entrance. Kang Min-jae arrived last, flanked by Hansung representatives. He smiled when he saw Jisuk. "Cousin, I was hoping we could discuss this civilly." "There's nothing civil about what you've done." Min-jae shrugged. "Business is business. You've been distracted, defending your foreign wife, exposing family secrets, destroying alliances. Someone needed to think about the company's future." Jisuk's expression remained ice. "Sit down, Min-jae. This won't take long." The next hour unfolded like a carefully choreographed battle. Jisuk presented evidence of Min-jae's illegal communications with Hansung Industries. Emails. Recorded phone calls. Financial transfers. Every piece of the conspiracy laid bare. Min-jae's confidence began to crack. "Those documents are fabricated. They're time-stamped and verified by 3 independent cybersecurity firms. The board won't believe. The board has already voted." Jisuk's voice was calm. "Your shares have been frozen pending criminal investigation. Your access to all Kong properties has been revoked. And Hansung Industries has been informed that any further pursuit of this acquisition will result in immediate legal action." Silence fell across the room. Min-jae's face contorted with rage. "You think you've won? You think exposing me changes anything?" He leaned forward. "Your wife doesn't belong in this family. She never did. And eventually, everyone will see that." Jisuk stood slowly. Walked toward his cousin until they were face to face. "You're wrong about many things, Min-jae. But you're especially wrong about her." His voice dropped to barely a whisper. "She's the reason I still believe this family is worth saving." 1 month later, the Hansung acquisition attempt collapsed entirely. Min-jae faced criminal charges for corporate espionage. Aunt Sun-hee remained exiled to the Jeju property. Ji-hoon had quietly resigned from all family business roles and retreated into obscurity. The Kong household was finally at peace. But there was one more thing Jisuk needed to do. He gathered the remaining household staff in the main hall. Every servant, every employee, every person who had witnessed Zuri's humiliation during his absence. Some had participated willingly. Others had been too afraid to intervene. "I want to make something clear," Jisuk announced. "What happened in this house over the past 18 months was a failure of this family, not a failure of my wife. She showed more dignity and grace under pressure than anyone I've ever known. He paused. Any employee who participated in her mistreatment has already been terminated. Those who remained silent out of fear. I understand. But this household operates under new rules now. His eyes swept across the room. Mrs. Kong is the lady of this house. Her word carries the same weight as mine. And anyone who forgets that will answer to me personally. Silence. Then slowly the staff bowed. That evening, the mansion was quiet. Zuri stood on the balcony overlooking the gardens, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and rose. Footsteps approached behind her. He moved to stand beside her but didn't speak immediately. When he finally did, his voice was rough with emotion. I need to say something. She turned to face him. For 18 months you suffered because I trusted the wrong people. You kept a promise to my grandmother when you had every right to walk away. You protected my family's honor when they did nothing to earn it. He took a breath. I don't deserve you, Ji-suk. Let me finish. He reached into his jacket, produced a small velvet box. Inside was a ring, not a replacement for her wedding band but something new. A band of rose gold featuring a small crane and protea design, matching his tattoo. This doesn't replace what was lost. Nothing can. But it represents what I promise you going forward. He lowered himself to one knee, on the same balcony where their first dance had taken place 3 years ago. I vow before both our families, before your ancestors and mine, that no one will ever reduce you to anything less than who you are. Not my relatives. Not business rivals. Not society. No one. His eyes held hers. Will you let me spend the rest of my life earning the forgiveness I don't deserve? Tears streamed down Zuri's face. But she was smiling. You've already earned it. The private ceremony was held 1 week later. In the garden Zuri had designed. Beneath the cherry blossoms that represented their intertwined heritage. Only a handful of guests attended. Those who had proven their loyalty during the crisis. Attorney Park Jin-ho served as witness. Hannah, the young maid who had tried to speak up for Zuri, was invited as a personal guest. Zuri wore a gown that blended Korean traditional elements with African design. A tribute to both cultures, both legacies, both families. Ji-suk wore white for the first time in years. When they exchanged vows, no one spoke. The garden spoke instead. Wine through the leaves. Water from the fountain. Birds calling across the evening sky. Ji-suk took Zuri's hands. I promise to see you. Every day. Even when the world tries to make you invisible. Zuri's voice was steady. I promise to stay. Even when staying is hard. Because some promises are worth keeping. They didn't need an officiant. They didn't need witnesses. They only needed each other. The Kong Memorial Gardens had been fully restored. New sections featured African botanical elements, proteas, bird of paradise flowers, and indigenous South African plants that Zuri had imported specially for the project. It was her masterpiece. And it was now open to the public. Ji-suk stood at the garden's edge, watching visitors explore the pathways his wife had designed. Children laughed near the fountain. Couples held hands beneath the cherry blossoms. Elderly visitors sat on benches enjoying the peace. He felt arms wrap around him from behind. Zuri. It's beautiful, she said quietly. You're beautiful. She laughed, a sound he had almost forgotten during those dark months. Flattery won't get you out of the foundation dinner tomorrow. It was worth trying. They stood together in comfortable silence. The sun was setting. The sky blazed with color. And somewhere in the distance, a crane called across the water. Ji-suk pulled Zuri closer. His lips brushed her temple. Thank you, he whispered. For what? For staying. When anyone else would have left. She looked up at him. I made a promise. To my grandmother. To you. She smiled softly. Long before I met her. He didn't respond with words. He didn't need to. He simply held her. And in that holding, everything was finally whole. This story was crafted for audiences who believe in resilience, redemption, and love that survives even the darkest circumstances. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more cinematic romance narratives.